Christmas is just around the corner. We got a new year in just over a month. That means some of you might be looking to start a YouTube channel, upgrade your equipment, or you're just curious about what I use to create my videos. Well, I'm gonna let you know everything that I'm currently using to create my videos. Camera, lights, computers, live streams, man on the street type videos, all that fun stuff. I'm gonna let you know how I create it. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean and I love to talk about movies and YouTube way too much. And today we are talking about the equipment I use to create my YouTube videos. As we go into this, I'll put chapter markers down below so you can skip ahead to a specific item that you might be looking to upgrade in your setup or that you just might be curious about. Also, I will have links down below in the description for each of these products. So if you want to get one of them, I'll take you to the exact one that I bought because I bought most of them off of Amazon, and I'll have an Amazon link for you down below in the description. And let's get started. We'll get started talking about my camera, and I'm currently using the Sony Alpha A6400. I'll tell you which lens I'm using in just a second. Now, back in May 2019, I was trying to decide which camera to use, and I was going between the Canon M50 and the Sony A6400. Back in 2019, I went with the Canon M50, and it was a solid camera for 3 years. And I reached a point in time where I was looking to upgrade, and I ended up going with the A6400 when it came to that. The benefits of the Canon M50 is that it's just more cost effective. It's a more versatile camera for what you can get for under $1,000. So with where I was at the time, this was the better camera because I could get more lenses, do more things, all while it was still under $1,000. And certain features with the Sony A6400, I simply couldn't use at the time because my computer wasn't good enough. Jump forward 3 years, my computer was better and I was looking to upgrade. And I actually bought the Sony A6400 just because it has a clean HDMI out, so you can use this camera very easily as a webcam. And that's something you can't really do with the Canon M50. That's why I initially decided to check this camera out and buy one. And as soon as I used it one time, I have not used my Canon M50 since, because it just looks so very good. And I'll probably make a video in the next couple of weeks talking about specifically the advantages and disadvantages of each of these. The advantage of and simply put, the advantage of the Canon M50 is that you can get a lot for under $1,000. Disadvantage of the Sony A6400 is it's a little bit more expensive, but other than that, it's pretty much better at everything. You got to pay a good bit more money, but it has better color pickup. I just love the way that I can be here and nice and crisp. It can have the glow of my backlighting, kind of making my shoulders glow red. It's not washed out by these, so it has great color pickup. It's crisp. One of the reasons that I bought it, as I mentioned before, is I can use this as my webcam very easily. It's so simple to use with a cam link, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, but it looks great. It shoots in 4K, and the Canon M50 can, but it's not as good of 4K. So this is a better 4K that's just simple, right out of the box, easy to use. So as soon as I switched to this one, I fell in love with it. And a lot of that's the camera, it's color pickup, but the other side to it is the lens. And the lens that I'm using for my Sony A6400 is the Sigma 16mm. If you're new to kind of the world of cameras, these types of cameras, there's the body and the lenses, and different lenses do different things and give you different looks. And what I wanted was this look where I'm nice and crisp, but there's a blurry background. Everything behind me is kind of out of focus, and there's a real tight focus on me. And even part of that, if I put my hand right here, there you go. It focuses in on my hand and it's super crisp and I'm super blurry. That's the look that I was going for. That's why I picked this specific lens. It is an expensive lens, where this lens itself costs about the same as the body for a Canon M50, these are the reasons that I went with the Canon M50 back in 2019. But as soon as I put this lens on this camera, it was the exact look that I was hoping for, the exact look that I wanted, which is nice, crisp me, great color pickup, but then that blurriness behind me. Now, if you're looking for a cheaper option, when I started out, the first 3 years of my channel, I was just using a Logitech webcam. The Logitech 920, and then this one right here is the Logitech 930. I like the 930 more. It has a wide angle lens, so I can have it right here kind of in front of me, and you can see full body, so I can be close to it without it being like super cropped. So you're starting out. This is what I used to grow my channel to full-time. I did not buy my Canon M50 until I was full-time and had 100,000 subscribers. I used a webcam up to that point in time. And the little trick when it comes to cameras is that pretty much every camera is really good these days. You got one right there in your pocket on your iPhone or your Android. Webcams are 4K and only $100. And the trick is that you get the most bang for your buck out of lighting. So if you're starting out, you can just get a webcam, you can use your phone and just get quality lighting for $100 and it'll look so good. And let's start talking about my mic, and I currently use the Blue Yeti X. And I've been using Blue Yetis essentially since the very beginning of my channel. I think in like December 2016, I bought my first Blue Yeti and jumped forward over 5 years, nearly 2,000 videos, a whole lot of times of that mic getting tipped over. A couple of the jacks hadn't started working quite right, so I wanted to get another Yeti, and they have a new kind of one called the Blue Yeti X that is very similar to the Blue Yeti. There's a few more kind of receiver deals in the mic itself, so it's a slightly better audio sound. But the big advantage on these ones is that the knob on the front kind of shows you where the volume's at, kind of lights up. So I kind of appreciate that about it. So it's just a little bit sleeker, a little bit nicer, a little bit better sound pickup. But Blue Yetis are what I have been using my entire channel. If you've watched one of my videos, you have heard me talk through a Blue Yeti almost certainly. And right along with that, I have the Yeti caster arm, the boom arm that makes my mic do all this stuff, is the official one from Blue itself. It's literally called the Yeti caster, and you just attach your Yeti to it and you can move it up and down. And even with these Blue Yetis, they would sound even nicer if I could put the mic closer to me, but I talk with my hands, so I have to have them arm's lengths away from me. So when your mic is a foot and a half away from your face, it doesn't sound quite as good as if you have it closer. But when you talk with your hands, you can't do that. Next up, what's the mic that I use when I do kind of audience reaction videos, or how do I record the audio at a bunch of the events that I speak at? It's a Zoom H1. And I bought it because I wanted a recorder I could plug a lapel mic into to do some talks and record it. And then what I realized is there's kind of a built-in stereo pair of mics. And so you can just go out and I'll do these audience reactions where I'll tell people where I'm going to go see a movie, film it with my phone, and then for the audio, I just use this like a mic. And so hit record on the camera, hit record on this, clap to sync the audio, and then I just kind of talk into it like I'm holding a normal microphone like someone does on a red carpet, and you record them right there in front of them. There's a little knob right here to adjust the volume so you can make sure that it's set so you don't get too much background noise. You can see the levels right here. And then even now when I do live speaking, I don't use the lapel mic option. I just use these two mics. I put it right there in front of me because I like to pick up the room. I like to be able to hear when people are laughing, that energy of people's movements as you say things. Also, whenever I use a lapel mic, I'm afraid it's going to come unplugged. So that's actually the main reason I don't do it when I give my talks. But if you want to do kind of a lapel mic option, and I think my buddy Cody Leach, this is what he uses for the audio for his videos. He just plugs a little lapel mic into here. You can go onto Amazon, look up lapel mics, and you'll find a ton of them from $20, $30, $40. They're all the same thing. Just plug them in right there, and then you adjust the volume, and you can get audio from right here underneath your mouth. Next thing to talk about on here is what am I using for my front lighting. And as of this entire year when I've been using this corner set, I've just been using the Elgato key light. And I bought this a year ago, back when I was still using my set over there in the corner, just as an extra light to kind of experiment with it. And I previously had a bunch of big studio lights that were literally hanging up from my ceiling. You can kind of still see these bars dropping down. It's dark with my current lighting setup, but there's like bars dropping down from my ceiling. And I just had normal, classic, gigantic studio lights. And I was looking to find something that was maybe a little bit smaller. And then I came over into this corner and realized, wait, my key light it's this thick. I could literally put it in the corner right there. I wonder if this would work. And so I have it literally tucked in the corner behind my monitor, takes up no space in the room. Those things over there, like I had to duck to get to my desk because they were so big and they took up space in the room. This one takes up absolutely no space. It's behind my monitor. And what's really cool about it is that the controls for the lights are on your computer. So I sit here with my camera in front of me and I can reach over, I can do it right now, and just switch my lights. I'm talking to you. I did nothing. I just reached over and I can switch the color temperature. I can switch the brightness of it and just all right there. And my previous lights, once again, they're hanging up on the ceiling, entirely knobs on the back. So if I wanted to adjust anything, I'd have to go and switch them. And they were just light bulbs. So it was just whether one light's on, two lights on. I couldn't change the color. This one, I can kind of work with my camera to try and find the perfect mixture of what kind of gives the look and the glow that I want in a specific shot. How much light do I need coming through? All right here, all with my camera right there in front of me, not having to get up. So that's what I loved about this thing. And as soon as I discovered that, like I just have one camera or one light tucked right behind my camera over here. And it's been amazing ever since I discovered this thing. And even little tricks I do with it. So my camera's right here in front of me. The light's slightly off at an angle. So it just gives a little bit of a light gradient across my face where this isn't lit. This is nice, brightly lit. I just like that kind of contrast and dynamic lighting. And you can get that with something like this that's tucked away a little bit. Then for kind of my colored backlighting, as well as what I'm using to light my background, I'm using these par cans from Yeesight. I've got a bunch of them, but it's the same ones that are lighting up my Funkos, and my backdrop are the same ones that are shooting at the back of my head. And it's just these guys right here. And they have a remote where you can just change the colors on them. It's that simple. That's how I can switch my background depending on what I'm talking about. I just love that they give strong, bright colors, whatever they project it onto. And so I started buying a couple of these, and then I bought a couple more, And so they're tucked away all behind me to kind of give this specific look. Then as for these little bar lights underneath me, it's the Dengala RGB corner floor lamp. These are actually the same lights that Austin Burke has in his setup in the actual corner. He uses them properly. And I went to go visit him back in April, and I was like, what are those? I don't want to buy something like that. And so I wasn't even sure exactly what I wanted to do with them. I just knew I wanted a couple more kind of layers of lighting. And so I bought a couple of them. I went, I bet if I just tipped them over and had like a little line, I think I would like that. And so that's what I did. It kind of gives a glow on the floor, but they're designed to be lights that you tuck into your corner to make your whole corner glow. That's how Austin Burke uses them. I literally just tip them over, and then I rest them on weights on the floor, so they're just lifted up just a little bit, so they project their light onto the floor a little bit more to kind of give that bigger glow. And that's what they are. Then we have, how do I do my live streams? And currently, as I mentioned earlier, I use my Sony a6400 for my live streams with an Elgato Cam Link. And essentially, the Sony a6400 and many other cameras, they have an HDMI out. It's called a clean HDMI out. And what clean means is that it doesn't have all of the menu option stuff. When it sends it out to the HDMI, it doesn't tell you the runtime, the f-stop. It doesn't have the little box for the autofocus. It's a clean image through the HDMI port. And then you just plug it into this, and your computer sees this as a webcam. And I heard it was easy and simple, and it's so much easier and so much simpler than I was expecting. It is incredible. It is so very easy to use. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons that I was looking to upgrade from the Canon M50 is that it does not have a clean HDMI out. When you use the HDMI port on a Canon M50, it'll still have all the little menus. It'll tell you how long you're recording and all that stuff that is useful for me as I'm looking at it right now, but you don't want to see that in a live stream. And so that's one of the reasons I upgraded. And the Cam Link, it's so simple. It's so easy. It has nice, pretty picture. And then, of course, I have my Blue Yeti plugs into my computer, and so that's the mic that I use in my live streams as well. Next thing to talk about, what software do I use? Sometimes people message me, hey, what app do you use? Well, normally when you're referring to an app, you're talking about on a phone, and I don't edit hardly anything on my phone. I've been using the Adobe suite since 2003. It'll be 20 years in January that I've been using the Adobe suite. So in particular, I edit videos in Adobe Premiere and I edit my thumbnails and graphics in Photoshop. That's what I use. I use very little After Effects, and I haven't used After Effects in several years. I've done nothing in After Effects in years. I used to do a little bit in the early days of my channel. I don't use Illustrator. I use Premiere and Photoshop for pretty much everything that I create. I use those on a daily basis. So those are the keys to what I do. People ask me, what's like a great, cheap, free alternative? I don't know. Because I've been using Adobe Premiere for 19 years and 10 months and 3 weeks, I don't know what people use when they're starting out. I have been using Premiere and Photoshop a very long time. Another thing people ask me about, how am I projecting images behind me? I'm doing that with an Apple TV and my iPhone. Literally just images from my iPhone. So whenever I kind of have movie posters show up over there, I just sit here between movies, I download the next image and I just throw it up there onto an Apple TV. If you're wondering, that is a picture of me from last night at 1 a.m. winning a Victory Royale in Fortnite. But I was holding a crown, so it was a Crown Royale too. So I was very happy with myself. But more importantly, I'm using an Apple TV to do this. It's super duper simple. If you have an iPhone, have an Apple TV, just throw it up there on the TV. Last couple items here. What computer do I use? I have a MacBook Pro. I bought this one refurbished a couple years back, so it is a mid 2019 MacBook Pro. I got 32 gigs of RAM. I bought a pretty good one because I do video editing for a living. So I'm sitting there rendering video all day long. So you want to get something that's powerful enough. I think there's a new chipset. I think it's like the M1 or something like that. This is before that. I don't have that new chipset. I'm probably going to upgrade my computer in the near future. A big part of that is simply that with the new A6400, this camera does 4K. So I've been doing a lot more 4K video, and rendering and editing in 1080p versus 4K are two different beasts. And this one can handle it, but it's not nearly as quick as it used to be. And so it just kind of dramatically changes my workflow when, if I'm rendering a hour-long spoiler video or an hour-long ranking, and then I send it to render, and it takes much longer because it's in 4K. And so I've been thinking about upgrading to just kind of keep up with the technology. Actually, and that's kind of going back to why did I pick the Canon M50 back in the day? Because I had a different computer back then that absolutely could not do 4K. So 4K wasn't even on the table. I wasn't thinking about the live streams. So a bunch of the things that made this camera really good didn't matter because my computer was too slow and couldn't do all of the functions that this A6400 can. And now I'm at a point in time where I can kind of upgrade all the technology to do 4K and fancy live streams and a bunch of stuff like that. And finally, what monitor do I have right here in front of me? And it's an LG 32UN880 32-inch ultrafine display Ergo. And it keeps talking. I don't know all that stuff. The link's down below if you want to know the exact screen that I have in front of me. And actually the reason that I switched from shooting videos over there to shooting them in this corner was just an unintended consequence of buying this monitor, because I had the monitor over here. I started doing kind of my weekly live streams on Patreon over here in this corner. And I went, I kind of like this angle. And I went, wait a minute, I could just put my key light behind the monitor. And I looked at it and went, this is kind of cool. Wait, I'm far enough away from the wall behind me. I can really easily do the backlighting. I've really wanted to do this kind of dynamic lighting for a long time. And it's just tough to do in that corner where I'm, right in front of my shelves. There's nowhere to put the lights behind me for them to properly project on me at the right angles. So I can do that over here. And it was this unintended consequence of I just like this dynamic look. I like the corner. I like that the camera can get the blurry background behind me. And it all started with buying this monitor. But anyway, as for the monitor itself, it's just a very large 32-inch monitor that it makes editing and a bunch of things much easier when you have this much screen space versus a 16-inch laptop right in front of you. So that was the big thing for me, is just wanting something that was bigger. And even doing live streams, I can have all these tabs and stuff open in front of me so I can think. Even as I'm shooting videos, it's much easier now to have my notes right in front of me right off from the camera, and I can blow them up nice and big, and there's plenty of space for that and other things up on the screen. Oh, one more thing I guess I can talk about in here. Behind me is my eWin gaming chair. I actually did a whole video reviewing this gaming chair and all the fun things that you can do with it. But the other nice thing that came from switching to working over in this corner is I can have my gaming chair over here, since the TV's right there, and with the gaming chair by the TV and not in the desk in the corner. So now I shoot all my videos at my comfortable gaming chair, and I'll link to the review for that one somewhere around here, and I'll have the link down below in the description for where you can get one yourself. There you have it. That's all the equipment that I use. There are links down below in the description if you're wondering where you can purchase something, if you want to upgrade, if you're looking to get started. It's all right down there in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and YouTube too much.